Homes under $100,000 in 2026. Most people will tell you that's impossible, but the data says otherwise. Welcome back to the Globe Realty. In today's video, 10 small towns with shockingly cheap homes in 2026. U.S. towns with homes under $100,000. We're diving into parts of the U.S. housing market that rarely make headlines, but absolutely should. While prices in major metros continue to strain buyers and investors alike, there are still small towns where real houses, not condos, not mobile homes, are selling for prices most people think disappeared years ago. This isn't hype or guesswork. We're breaking down real listing data, price trends, and market conditions that explain why these homes are still affordable and who they actually make sense for. Some of these towns are hidden gems quietly attracting first-time buyers and remote workers. Others are cheap for reasons you need to understand before making a move. Stick with us all the way to number 1, because it may completely change how you view affordable housing in America. If you value fact-driven real estate insight, hit the like button, subscribe to the Globe Realty, and let's get into it. Number 10, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We kick off this countdown with a town that should feel like a relic of the past, but instead reveals one of the most bizarre real estate bargains in America. Pine Bluff, Arkansas lands at number 10 on our list of 10 small towns with shockingly cheap homes in 2026, because its housing market literally defies expectation. First, let's talk prices. According to the latest Realtor.com data, parts of Pine Bluff are extremely affordable, with a median listing home price around $59,000 and sold prices near $55,000 in some zip codes, while Zillow shows the average home value hovering near $71,800 as of 2025 ending. That's insane when the national median is 3 to 4 times higher. This is the definition of homes under $100,000. Real properties, real neighborhoods, not trailers or empty lots. But here's the controversial part. Cheap doesn't always mean instant success. Pine Bluff's market is clearly a buyer's market, with inventory piling up and homes lingering on the market much longer than the national average, suggesting weak demand relative to supply. In some zip codes, median prices have even dropped year over year, pointing to a cooling or declining market. That's exactly why homes under $100,000 are still possible here. Sellers are desperate, and buyers with vision can negotiate. Now ask yourself, do you want a quick flip or do you want a strategy? Investors and rehab pros love Pine Bluff because a $40,000 to $60,000 buy-in means you can pour sweat equity in and potentially unlock value others overlook. First-time buyers and remote workers can secure affordable space without being locked out of homeownership entirely. So yes, Pine Bluff shocks because $47,000 homes are still real. But what's even more shocking is why they're cheap and whether you're ready to put in the work to make them worth more. Number 9, Van Wert, Ohio. Coming in at number 9 is Van Wert, Ohio, a place that shouldn't be this affordable given the cost of housing nationwide, but somehow still bucks the trend. You'll hear a lot about homes under $100,000, but in Van Wert, it's not just a buzzword. It's possible in certain pockets. For example, Realtor.com listings range all the way down to properties in the low $20,000 to $25,000 range on rare lots, while some homes listed near $90,000 to $100,000 still turn heads for buyers priced out of bigger markets. Now don't get it twisted. The median sale price here isn't sub $100,000 across the board. According to Redfin data from late 2025, the median home price in Van Wert sits near $147,950, which is actually down nearly 19% year over year and signaling a softening market. But that's the point. Prices have fallen enough that a real chance exists to find homes in the sub $100,000 niche if you're willing to scout, negotiate, and sometimes rehab. That's a controversial truth. Affordable doesn't always mean obvious. And it certainly doesn't always show up in median figures alone. What makes Van Wert especially weird and appealing is the cost of living factor. With an overall index around 92, lower than the national average, and incomes that align reasonably well with local prices, this isn't a backwater ghost town. It's real life, real community, and real affordability. Here's the question for you. Would you rather pay $90 for a charming house in a quiet, walkable Midwest community, or $300,000 plus in a crowded urban market that offers the same basic space? Van Wert's market forces you to confront that choice. And with prices trending softer and homes staying on the market longer, buyers hold more leverage than you think. So yes, Van Wert makes this list, not because it's perfect, but because it represents one of the last realistic small-town chances to find that elusive $100,000 home in America. Number 8. Oskaloosa, Iowa. Let's slow things down for a moment, because Oskaloosa, Iowa doesn't scream cheap housing crisis loophole, and that's exactly why it makes this list. This is one of those towns where, if you just looked at the brick storefronts, tree-lined streets, and historic homes, you'd assume prices already got bid up years ago. But the data tells a very different story. As we head into 2026, median list prices in Oskaloosa still hover around the mid-$90,000 range, putting it squarely in homes under $100,000 territory, something that feels almost extinct in today's U.S. housing market. Here's what makes that shocking. Oskaloosa isn't collapsing, shrinking into oblivion, or abandoned. It's the county seat of Mahaska County, home to William Penn University, and anchored by steady local employers in manufacturing, healthcare, and education. That university presence matters. It creates consistent rental demand, a younger population pipeline, and economic stability that many cheap towns don't have. Now let's talk lifestyle. This is classic Midwest community living. Walkable parks, seasonal festivals, local sports, and the kind of town where people actually know their neighbors. Crime rates remain below national averages, and the cost of living is materially lower than most U.S. metros. Not just housing, but utilities, groceries, and property taxes too. That's a big deal if you're a first-time buyer trying to keep monthly expenses predictable. Here's the controversial angle. Oskaloosa proves that cheap housing doesn't always come with chaos. The reason prices stay low isn't because nobody wants to live here. It's because this market never experienced speculative hype to begin with. No tech boom, no Airbnb frenzy, no mass migration wave. So ask yourself, would you rather chase hot markets where prices already doubled, or quietly buy into a town where affordability still exists because it was ignored? For buyers who value community, stability, and realistic ownership, Oskaloosa isn't flashy, it's functional. And in 2026, that might be the most underrated feature of all. Number 7. Decatur, Indiana. Now here's a town that quietly exposes one of the biggest myths in today's housing market, that affordable homes only exist in places with no jobs, no demand, and no future. Decatur, Indiana proves that assumption wrong. On paper, Decatur looks almost too normal to be this cheap. It's a small Midwestern town with stable neighborhoods, local employers, and quick access to larger job hubs like Fort Wayne. Yet heading into 2026, median home prices are still hovering just under the $100,000 mark, according to Realtor data. That alone puts Decatur in rare territory when the national median is pushing 4 times higher. So why hasn't this place been priced out yet? The answer isn't decline. It's lack of hype. Decatur never became a speculative market. No investor-feeding frenzy, no short-term rental boom, no sudden influx of out-of-state buyers driving bidding wars. What you get instead is a town where prices are still tied to local incomes, not national trends, and that's exactly why affordability survived. This is also where Decatur separates itself from other cheap markets. It's not isolated. Commuting to nearby employment centers is realistic, not theoretical. That makes it attractive to blue-collar workers, remote workers who want space, and first-time buyers who don't want to gamble on unstable towns. Add in lower property taxes and a cost of living well below the U.S. average, and monthly ownership here can be shockingly manageable. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Towns like Decatur stay cheap because they don't excite influencers, investors, or headlines. And that's a feature, not a flaw. Ask yourself this. Would you rather overpay in a hot market where affordability is already gone, or buy in a town where prices are still rational because the crowd never showed up? Decatur earns its spot at number 7 because it represents something increasingly rare in 2026. a real small town where ownership is still attainable without desperation, speculation, or hype. For buyers chasing rural charm with actual livability, this is exactly the kind of place worth paying attention to, before everyone else finally does. Number 6. Upstate small towns, New York. This one surprises people the most, because when you hear New York real estate, you instinctively think unaffordable. Manhattan prices, suburban bidding wars, property taxes that make your eyes water. And yet, quietly, upstate New York has become one of the last regions in America where homes under $100,000 are still real in 2026. We're talking about small towns like Elmira Heights, Perry, Massena, Oswego, Waterloo, and several others, where average home values still sit below, or hover just around the $100,000 mark. In some neighborhoods, sales in the $60,000 to $90,000 range are still happening, even as the national median home price pushes far beyond reach for most buyers. Here's why that's shocking. These towns aren't deserts. They're surrounded by lakes, forests, rivers, and historic downtowns. Places like Oswego sit right on Lake Ontario. Others are near the Finger Lakes region, one of the most scenic parts of the Northeast. You get 4 real seasons, walkable town centers, and 19th century architecture that would cost triple in other states. So why are prices still this low? Here's the controversial truth. New York's reputation is holding these towns back. High statewide taxes, population decline in certain counties, and decades of outmigration have scared off buyers who never bothered to look past NYC headlines. That fear has kept demand suppressed and prices anchored. But data shows something interesting. While populations are flat or declining slightly, inventory remains elevated, and homes stay on the market longer than the national average. That creates leverage, real negotiating power, for buyers who aren't afraid of being early instead of late. Ask yourself this: would you rather stretch financially in a Sunbelt market that already peaked, or buy a solid house near lakes and historic streets for under $100,000 because everyone else wrote the region off? Upstate New York makes this list because it proves a bigger point of this video. Affordable housing didn't disappear. It just moved to places most people stopped paying attention to. And in 2026, that blind spot might be the opportunity. If you are finding this video eye-opening, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the Globe Realty, and turn on the notification. It will help us reach out to more people who equip themselves with real insight into real estate before investing. And now, the top 5 on this countdown. Number 5. Wheeling, West Virginia. Here's a town that will make you question everything you thought you knew about cheap real estate. Wheeling, West Virginia lands at number 5 on our countdown of top 10 small towns with shockingly cheap homes in 2026, because it's a historic river town where homes with real character are still going for under $100,000. Yes, you heard that right. According to the latest listings, many properties in Wheeling, especially near the Ohio River, sell in the $50,000 to $95,000 range, offering buyers historic charm, period architecture, and even river views that most people assume would cost hundreds of thousands elsewhere. But here's the catch. This isn't some abandoned, forgotten town. Wheeling is rich in history, with cobblestone streets, restored downtown buildings, and a cultural scene anchored by theaters, art galleries, and festivals. What's shocking is that prices remain low because demand hasn't caught up, not because the homes are worthless. Many neighborhoods have inventory that lingers on the market longer than the national average, giving buyers leverage. Now let's get controversial. Most people think cheap riverfront living is either a scam or a dying town. In Wheeling, it's neither. The economy is modest, yes, and some industrial sectors have declined, but remote workers, investors, and first-time homebuyers are quietly snapping up homes, knowing these prices won't last forever. So ask yourself, would you rather pay $300,000 for a generic suburban house with no personality, or $75,000 for a riverfront home full of history where you can actually feel the character of the town? Wheeling proves a bigger point. Affordable homes with charm still exist, but only if you know where to look. And in 2026, riverfront bargains like these are one of the last real opportunities in the U.S. housing market. Number 4. Saginaw, Michigan. Saginaw, Michigan makes number 4 on our list of top 10 small towns with shockingly cheap homes in 2026, and it's a place that's as fascinating as it is controversial. Once a bustling industrial hub, Saginaw has seen decades of economic shifts that caused population declines and plummeting home values. Today, that legacy creates one of the most affordable housing markets in the Midwest, with homes frequently listed in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. Here's why that's shocking. For less than the price of a used car, you can own a full house in a town with history, infrastructure, and potential. But, and this is where most people hesitate, these low prices reflect risk. Certain neighborhoods struggle with vacancy, crime, and older housing stock in need of renovation. Saginaw isn't for the faint of heart. It's for investors, flippers, or buyers willing to roll up their sleeves. Data from Zillow and local MLS listings show that while the median home price hovers around $55,000, homes in better neighborhoods or with modest updates can easily exceed $70,000. That spread creates opportunity for those who know the market. The town's affordability combined with proximity to Detroit and Midland means strategic buyers can capture value early before prices stabilize or recover. Now here's the controversial point. Many people dismiss towns like Saginaw outright, labeling them dying cities with no future. But the truth? Affordability often signals untapped potential. If you have the vision and patience, these are the neighborhoods where investors quietly make fortunes while everyone else chases overpriced suburbs. So here's the question for you. Are you willing to take a calculated risk for incredible value, or will you stick to markets that are already overpriced, crowded, and overhyped? Saginaw challenges you to rethink what cheap really means in 2026. And for the right buyer, it's pure opportunity. Number 3. Youngstown, Ohio. Coming in at number 3 is Youngstown, Ohio, a place that perfectly straddles the line between urban and small-town living. You might assume that being within reach of major metro areas like Pittsburgh or Cleveland would push prices up, but the data tells a very different story. Homes here frequently sell in the $60,000 to $70,000 range, offering buyers what feels like a full-sized city home at a fraction of the cost elsewhere. What's shocking about Youngstown isn't just the price, it's the quality and size of the homes you can find. Many properties feature multiple bedrooms, finished basements, and sizable yards, all for prices that would barely get you a condo in Cleveland. Median sale prices remain below $75,000, while inventory is still high enough that buyers can negotiate, making this an unusual opportunity in a market where affordability is nearly extinct. Here's the controversial truth. Youngstown's affordability comes with a stigma. People often write it off as declining because of past industrial downturns, but that ignores its location advantage. Commuting to Pittsburgh or Cleveland for work is realistic, while still enjoying a cost of living well below the national average. For buyers willing to embrace a little grit and history, this town offers bigger houses for less, without sacrificing access to opportunity. So ask yourself, would you rather overpay for a small suburban home closer to the city, or secure a large property in Youngstown with space, value, and potential, while most people ignore the market entirely? In 2026, Youngstown proves that sometimes the overlooked markets are the most valuable, and for smart buyers, it's a chance you don't want to miss. Number 2. Danville, Illinois. At number 2 on our countdown of top 10 small towns with shockingly cheap homes in 2026, we land in Danville, Illinois, a town that might make you question everything you think you know about affordable real estate. In a market where $200,000 to $300,000 is considered entry-level in most places, Danville still offers homes under $65,000 in multiple neighborhoods. Here's why this is so shocking. These aren't tiny fixer-uppers or trailers on the edge of nowhere. Many are traditional single-family homes with yards, garages, and full-sized layouts, often in quiet, well-established neighborhoods. That combination of size, livability, and price is increasingly rare in the U.S., which makes Danville a hidden gem for buyers chasing value over hype. But here's the controversial side. Cheap homes in Danville don't come without trade-offs. The town has experienced population decline over the past decade, and some areas show signs of economic stagnation. Local employment is modest compared to larger metros, so this market rewards buyers who strategize wisely, whether that's first-time homeowners, remote workers, or investors looking for long-term gains. Still, the appeal is undeniable. Danville combines low cost of living, quiet streets, and affordable housing in a way most Americans can't imagine anymore. Want a full-sized home for less than the cost of a used car? Danville delivers. Want a peaceful town without skyrocketing taxes or bidding wars? Danville fits the bill. So here's the question. Would you rather follow the trends and overpay in a hot market, or quietly secure a home in a place where affordability is real and still functional in 2026? For buyers who know how to see past the headlines, Danville proves that value isn't dead. It's just waiting for the right people to notice. Number 1. Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Topping our countdown of top 10 small towns with shockingly cheap homes in 2026 is Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And if there's one town that truly embodies the hidden gem concept, this is it. Nestled in the Laurel Highlands, Johnstown combines historic charm, natural beauty, and shockingly low home prices in a way that almost seems too good to be true. As of late 2025, median home values in many neighborhoods sit between $65,000 and $75,000, making this one of the most affordable small-town markets left in the U.S. Here's what makes it so fascinating, and a bit controversial. Most people immediately dismiss Johnstown because of its reputation from past industrial decline and flooding history. But that stigma ignores the quality and potential of the current market. Historic row homes, cozy single-family houses, and even some riverfront properties are still accessible for prices that would barely cover a down payment in major cities. Beyond affordability, Johnstown offers real livability. Its walkable downtown, local breweries, cultural venues, and proximity to hiking, rivers, and the Laurel Highlands make it appealing not just for bargain hunters, but for buyers seeking charm with low housing costs. Remote workers, retirees, and first-time homeowners can move in and immediately enjoy a lifestyle that's hard to match for the same price elsewhere. Here's the question for you. Would you rather pay $300,000 for a cookie-cutter suburban home, or $70,000 for a house with character, history, and a strong sense of community? Johnstown proves that affordable, livable housing still exists. You just have to look beyond the headlines. For buyers ready to act, this town represents the ultimate combination of value and opportunity. In 2026, Johnstown isn't just cheap, it's America's #1 small-town housing bargain. And there you have it. The wrap-up of our countdown of the top 10 small towns with shockingly cheap homes in 2026, U.S. towns with homes under $100,000. From Pine Bluff, Arkansas, all the way to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, we've shown you that affordable housing hasn't disappeared. It's just moved to places most people overlook. Whether you're a first-time buyer, an investor hunting for hidden gems, or a remote worker chasing space and lifestyle, these towns offer real opportunities to own property for a fraction of the national median. Some of these markets are quieter, some are riskier, and some are downright historic. But all of them prove one thing. You don't need to spend a fortune to find a real home in America in 2026. So what do you think? Which town surprised you the most? Could you see yourself buying in one of these overlooked markets, or would you rather stick to the crowded, overpriced metros? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your take. If you found this video useful, smash that like button, subscribe to the Globe Realty, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos on affordable housing, real estate investing, and hidden market opportunities. Remember, these bargains won't last forever, and the early bird gets the house. Start exploring, do your research, and take advantage of these real opportunities before everyone else catches on. This is the Globe Realty helping you navigate American housing market one town at a time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.